Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. It's Papa John himself, John Schnatter, the founder of Papa John's Pizza. PapaJohnSchnatter.com is his website. How you doing, John? Good to see you.
Good, Joe. I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm living the dream. So do people in life call you Papa, or do they call you John? What do they call you?
A little bit of both. I go either way with it, but John works real good, and Papa works good too.
I love your all-American success story, even through diversity, great success, or adversity, great success. We're watching Kamala Harris, who could be elected president, if you can believe it, in a few weeks. I hope not. You hope not. And she's out there saying that all the economists on the planet basically say Donald Trump would ruin the economy and her economy would grow it somehow. What are your thoughts as a business guy?
Well, I think unlike 2022, the American electorate has woken up. And when you've got 80% of the electorate that says we're in worse shape today than we were 4 years ago, people have woken up. But that's the true litmus test. But Trump's policies are concise, they're specific, they're kind of ingenious, and they're motivated. And I think they're going to work. And I think his promise to make America great again is going to happen.
Well, Papa, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we go back 4 years, we see what he was doing. We go back 4 years, we see Black and Hispanic unemployment lower than it's been in history. We see the border closed better than it was in 50 years. We see an economic growth plan because he lowered corporate taxes and lowered regulations and lowered taxes for all income brackets. What exactly is she trying to run on? Because I don't know that she can run on what Biden did because he ruined it. She can't run on his inflation rate or his interest rates or his business climate. And when she's asked, what are you going to do to change it? She just says, hey, it's going to be better. Yeah. What do you do with that?
The two things she does is she obfuscates always off what the question was, and yes, she never answers it. She obfuscates off to another issue. But the other thing is whatever she's accusing you of doing, they're already doing themselves.
Yes.
So they're remarkable about how they play these word games. And as Mark Twain says, it's easier to fool somebody than to convince them that they've been fooled. A and B is never argue with an idiot. They'll bring you down to their level and they'll beat you with experience.
Yes.
And so therein lies the problem. But I think Trump's message is getting out, and I think it's showing in the polls. I think that's why he's winning.
PapaJohnSchnatter.com. Go and follow him there. Follow him on all the social media as well. I've got to ask you about the giveaways that she's offering now. She's doing badly in the polls, doing badly with almost every demographic. So now she wants to give $20,000 loans to Black Americans that might be forgivable. She wants to give people $25,000 as a down payment on a house that you and I will pay for, and the house will be increased in value, so it'll cost more. She wants to, of course, alleviate anybody of any loans that they took out to go to college. She's basically saying, I will hand you a bunch of free money. Please vote for me. John, do you think people are going to fall for the okie doke?
I lost the last part of that question, so I'll take a stab at it.
I'll say that what I said was, because we did lose the connection for a second, what I said was, do you think people will fall for it?
I think it's a bribe, and I don't think people are falling for it at all. I think entitlements are always a roundabout bribe, but this is just blatant. They're doing it right there in front of you. And I don't think the Black community in particular is seeing this as any more than a handout.
Yes. Well, I agree with you. As a business guy, she's also offering $50,000 in tax breaks. And that sounds good, but that doesn't work that way. She's not handing you $50,000 to open a business, which would be for the taxpayers anyway. She's literally saying in your first year, if you make enough money, we'll give you a tax break of $50,000. That doesn't guarantee success. Yeah. What do you make of that, do you think?
I think there's no free lunch. And I think that, money doesn't grow on trees. Besides the fact arithmetic's not an opinion. So unless you're producing or adding value or making other people's lives better through a service or a goods or a product, you're not adding value. And if you're not adding value, you can't just expect a free lunch. So she can give all the money away she wants, but it's just going to harm the people that are working at the expense of the people that don't want to work.
It's Papa John Schnatter. Go and follow him at his website, PapaJohnSchnatter.com, and follow him everywhere else as well. Of course, he's the founder and the namesake of Papa John's Pizza. So if you're running big business right now and you see Trump could be in office or Kamala Harris could be in office, do you adjust how you do business knowing what the leadership might do? Do you have to adjust to that?
I think so. I think this is the most important election of our time, and I think the a lot of the Constitution, a lot of the pillars that make this country great with regarding the fabric of the country itself are just getting pulled apart. And I think this election is consequential to the health and prosperity and the existence of our Constitution in this great country. I think this election is that important.
Well, I agree with you. And as somebody in business, when you see what Joe Biden did for the past 3.5 years with Kamala Harris at his side, and one side of their mouth, Biden says she's just going to continue doing what I did. She was in on every decision. And on the other side of their mouths, they're saying, well, no, I'm going to be completely different than Joe Biden. Last night in that interview with Bret Baier, she literally said, I'm not Joe Biden. Oh, well, we know that. But
Right.
I mean, John, has she said anything that makes you think as a business guy, well, maybe she will do something different and better?
No, not one thing. In fact, I think it's all a smokescreen. I think it's all kind of a head fake for what she really stands for. And the contrast for this decision, Trump versus Harris, couldn't be more distinct. So the choice for what you want, because this is cause and effect. You want a great economy with cheap oil. You can afford things, a
Yes.
safe border, or do you want the opposite of that? And the decision is plain. So that's why I think it's critical that Trump gets in office, because the harm that they could do for another 4 years of this nonsense, these policies, could be devastating to our country, our great nation.
It's always a pleasure to talk to Papa John Schnatter. Let me ask you about the illegal aliens coming across the border. You just mentioned the border a minute ago. And what the Harris-Biden administration wants us to believe is that they're somehow adding to the economy, a net plus to the economy. I see 10 to 21 million illegal aliens able to compete with Americans for jobs. I see that as a net negative. As a business guy, does that not make your life harder, knowing that Americans are being pushed out of jobs because an administration like this is letting those who came here illegally vie for those jobs?
Well, everything about it's wrong.
Yeah.
And we are a country of immigrants. And I think that's a great thing. It needs to continue. It's just got to be vetted properly.
And they're not vetting people at all, to be honest. They're just letting them in. It used to stay in Mexico. I mean, now they're like, here you go. We're going to catch you and release you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, even better. No, if we just would regulate and screen a little bit, I think we the problem with their argument is they're saying we're going to lose the income or the GDP of 10 million people at the expense of having to try to find these folks that are murderers.
Yes.
And so they're turning something that's a moral, ethical question, the safety of our cities and towns, into we're going to lose the economy of and the economies of the GDP on 11 million people. I thought that was interesting.
Well, it's extremely interesting. It's John Schnatter. John, do you know Mark Cuban?
Not well, no.
Yeah, I mean, I've had him on the show a couple of times. I don't dislike Mark Cuban, but I'm confused why somebody who's a billionaire, who's a success story in the United States, like you're a success story in the United States, why would you come out against lower regulations, lower taxation, and a better business climate? What do you think his problem is with Trump? Do you know?
I think I think Mark's confused, if anything. He's a smart guy, but we're talking about, awareness and consciousness, not necessarily about intelligence. But I think this is about egos. Trump marches to his own drum, and
Yes.
so does Cuban. And I think you probably got a little ego going on here, and Trump's getting all the attention, and it's not sitting well with Cuban, so he's kind of going off the deep end.
Yeah, but as a business guy, you want to be a success. It doesn't matter how egotistical the other guy is. If he makes for a better climate, that's good, no?
Yeah, something's going on because Cuban's not thinking real good on this one.
It is John Schnatter. Do me a favor, before we get out of here, tell me about Papa Farms again. I know that you're living a very, very healthy life. You're actually growing your own stuff. You're farming your own stuff. And I asked you last time if this will be available to the general public because I want to get in. Where are we with Papa Farms right now?
We just had a great first year, more learnings than we expected. Good crop out of the 27, 28 crops we planted. We got a pretty good yield out of like 24, 25. So
Nice.
First year, we're real happy with it. I would like to come back on and talk about it because I think it's fascinating, the fact that we build better soil that builds better plants that has more nutritious produce and fruit.
Yeah.
So it's a fun project, and it's going along quite nicely. Thank
Well,
you.
you can come on anytime. We can talk about it at length. But before I let you go, getting America healthy again is a big deal. I think that's why RFK Jr. jumped on the Trump bandwagon, because he believes that you can set a climate up to where more people can grow their own food and actually have their own good harvest and not go down the aisles and aisles of processed garbage at the grocery store. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, I was an RFK fan 6, 7 months before I was a Donald Trump fan. So RFK knows this stuff. He knows all the chemicals in the food supply, along with the pesticides and fertilizers used on the crops are destroying our soil. And he knows that the food is making us all sick. So I think he'll be a great ambassador of Make America Healthy Again.
You look great. Are you feeling a benefit health-wise over the past year with the new harvest and new crops that are on your soil, on your land?
I like it. I think you feel, especially in your system, and it's just you get full on less food. So, at least the placebo effect is there for sure, where you think you're doing something right.
Well, I think it's more than that, obviously, because you have control over how you're actually harvesting the fields. And again, we don't really know what we're getting at the store, but I'm glad that people like you and RFK Jr. and others are exposing us to exactly what our families are eating. And I think that's it's such a huge benefit. I love that you come on the show as often as you do. Before the election, which is 2.5 weeks now, can you come back on? We'll talk even longer.
I would like that. Yeah, absolutely. This next 19 days is going to blow your mind. I mean, if he continues to surge in the polls, the left is going to go nuts. And as you know, and I know, the one thing they always do, they always push it too far.
Yes.
So I don't know what's going to happen the next 19 days, but it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be a nail biter for sure. And John, I'm so glad that we're friends. Come back on the show very, very soon. Thank you for making time today.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, brother. We're back after this. Stay right here.